Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Katie from over at Eclectic by Katie, and today I'm going to be showing you how to do this lovely Valentine's Day rose. Now it is one that you can have any way you like. You can have it as tight or as loose as you like, so that can be adjusted depending on how you sew it at the end. This is using just a chunky, almost like an Aran or worsted weight yarn with a 5mm hook. So if you do want it to be smaller than this, then of course you can do that. Just make sure that you downsize your yarn or your needle, your hook, and you will need just a needle and scissors for the end of your rose, making your rose. So this is a good practice. It's in US terms, it's not in UK terms, and we are going to be practicing our double crochet and single crochet stitches. Okay, get your hooks ready. See you shortly. So this is a very simple, very quick pattern. So it shouldn't take very long for me to show you how to make this. And here are the materials that I'm going to use. So I'm going to use a nice thick, this is like a worsted weight yarn in pink. And we have some scissors. We have a needle just to sew in our ends at the end and to sew the rows together, which I'll show you how to do. And I'm using a 5mm hook. So if you want to use a thinner yarn, if you want to use a DK yarn, that's perfectly fine. If you just downsize your hook according to your yarn size that you've decided to use. So we're just going to start with a slip knot, and we are going to go with 60 chains. So chain 60, 3, 4, 5, and I'll see you at the other end once you've got to 60. So we have our nice long chain of 60 links on our chain, and now we are going to be working in the 6th stitch from the hook, so the 6th loop from the hook. So if we go back 6, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we're going to go into this 6th stitch, and we're going to yarn over and do a double crochet into that stitch there. And that's your double crochet. And the reason why we've done it as 6 is because this is going to count as our double crochet and a chain 2. So what we are going to do now is we are going to skip 2, 1, 2, and then we are going to work in the 3rd link and do a double crochet into there. So 1, 2, and into the 3rd. So we'll double crochet, and then we are going to chain 2, and then we are going to double crochet into the same stitch, and that's what we call a V stitch. Okay, so you'll notice that I haven't changed down the size of my hook, and that is because we want it to curve around just as we're working, and you'll see that once we get further on. Okay, so we are going to skip the next 2, 1, 2, and then work into our 3rd stitch and do another double crochet and chain 2, and then double crochet into the same stitch. Now we are going to continue along all the way to the other end, and I'll meet you once I'm doing my last V stitch at the very end. Okay, so once we get to the other end of our first row, you should see that we've got 3 stitches left. So if we do our V stitch into the last chain on your foundation chain, so double crochet, chain 2, and then we're going to double crochet into there, and that is row 1. And you'll notice there's already a curve in your work. So I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to turn my work. And this time we are just going to be working in these V stitches. So each of these that we've created, you'll see they're in the shape of a V. That's why it's called a V stitch. And we are going to do 2 double crochets in the first space, 1 and 2, and then we are going to chain 3 this time, 1, 2 and 3, and then we are going to do 2 more double crochets in that same space. So 2 double crochets, chain 3, 2 double crochets, which should look like this. And then we're going to go into our next V stitch. So skip this little space here and we're going to work into here. So we're going to go double crochet, double crochet, chain 3, 1, 2 and 3, and then 2 double crochets in the same stitch, 1 and 2, and I'll go through that again with you. So we're going to skip this space here and we're going to go straight into our V stitch. So just look out for your V's. And then it's 2 double crochets, chain 3, 2 double crochets. Okay, and I'll see you at the other end when I get started on my last one. Okay, so I'm just about to go into my final V stitch, which was my chain at the beginning and my first double crochet into the chain. So I'm just going to put in my last stitches in here. So 2 double crochets, chain 3, and then 2 double crochets into the same space, 1 and 2. And you'll notice it will have curved around a bit more again, and it's obviously getting bigger as we're adding to it. So we'll very easily be able to twist it around, and this will help at the end when we come to construct the rows and finish it off. Now there is only one extra row that we need to add. It will look a little bit pointy at the moment, don't worry about that. It will very much curve around with the next row and you'll see. Okay, so we're going to chain 2 again as we did before, and we're going to turn our work, and this time we are going to work 7 double crochets into that first chain 3 that we added in between our 2 double crochet stitches. So it will be this nice big chain here. So we need to add 7 double crochets into this space. Four, 5, 6, and 7 is my last one. And again, it will curve around even more, so that will open it up. Now to finish our petal, for each petal, we're going to put a single crochet stitch just into this space here. So we're just going to go into the space and add a single crochet stitch to finish it. And then we are going to do 7 double crochets into the next space. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then if we open up our stitches a bit, we'll be able to see that space in between, and we're just going to go into the space and single crochet, and then straight into double crochets into the next space for our next petal. It should look like this. Okay, so I'll see you at the other end once you've finished all of your petals. Okay, so we are getting to the end of our row, and I'm just going to do my last 7 double crochets into the end here. So 1, start again. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Okay, and we need to finish our petal in the very last space. So that's in our chain from the beginning of the last row. So we just need to single crochet into that end space. And then we're going to chain 1 to finish off, and then we're going to leave a nice long tail for us to sew in our ends and construct the rows. So I'm just going to pull this through to finish off. And then pull it nice and tight. Now there are 2 different ways that you can actually construct this rose, and it's entirely up to you how you want to do it. Now, first of all, you can do it with, of course, leaving your tail nice and free, so then you can stitch it up at the end. But you can basically roll it like that. Of course, making your petals nice and tight so you can have a nice tight rose, and then you can sew all of the ends in. So this is what it'll look like for a tighter rose. I mean, you can fiddle with it all you like. You can even make the outer petals, you know, come outwards like that. Of course, you would have your tail free, so then you would just stitch up the underneath, and you can see your twirl. So you can do it like that. The way I like to do it is to start the same way. So start that way, but then making it a bit looser. So then your petals sort of stay outwards. You can do it this way around. Yeah, that's better for me. So you would do it so that your petals are sticking outwards. Like that. And then stitch it up. So what we are going to do is just thread our needle, and I like to stitch it as I go and then have a fiddle with it afterwards. So if you just ignore that little tail, because that can be used at the very end to finish off. Okay, so as long as you've got 1 or 2 stitches in this or in each petal, and then you'd add your next petal, and then of course you would just keep going around and around. I'm doing this very quickly just to show you, but of course you can take your time, add as many stitches as you like. My roses are just going to be used just for decoration. But of course, if you're going to be using yours on any form of wearables, or if you're putting it on a bag or anything, then make sure that it is very well stitched at the bottom. Add as many stitches as you like. Make it as secure as you like. Okay, so I'm going to keep going around, and I shall see you at the other end. Okay, so I'm just coming to the end of my rows here, and as you can see, I'm just working my way around the rows and just going in here into the center, and then just pull your petals around. Like I say, you can add more stitches than me. I'm just using this rose for decoration. So the other thing I like to do as well is to make sure that the petals aren't basically, so that they're all staggered, so that will look much nicer. And of course you can close it up as much as you like or keep it open. It's entirely up to you how tight you want it. So that's nearly finished. So we're just going to finish stitching this up. Bring this last petal in. There we go, so it's nice and neat. And then we are just going to tie off with our initial tail. And then we're just going to use the center to hide these tails, so we can just come out here. Now of course, if you are using a thinner yarn than me, then your rose won't be as big as mine. So if you do want a big rose like mine, then you do need to use either a chunky yarn or at least a worsted weight yarn, which is a size 4 weight, I think. So that's one, and then we're just going to do the same with this one. We're just going to lose the tail in our work, so it's nice and neat. Don't have any tails. And then lose that in there. And then snip off the end. And there we go. And you notice this one is slightly different to the last pattern that I showed you with them being tight together. And you can adjust the petals, move them around however you want, so you can have it nice and loose like that if you want to. You can turn this that way round, so it's slightly different. Or again, you can tighten them up so it's a little bit tighter in the middle and then looser at the end. So I just like to make sure that my petals aren't all, so that they're all staggered all the way around. There we go, and that's our rose finished. There you go. Let me know what you think. Please do leave a comment below if there's any sort of patterns that you would like me to show you in the near future, and any future videos. Then do drop me a comment, and I'll be happy to reply. So this is a lovely big rose. If, like I say, if you do want a smaller one, then you can just make it smaller with a thinner yarn or a smaller hook. But there's our lovely Valentine's rose. Okay, hope you enjoyed that tutorial. Nice and easy for you, and it's a good practice for your double crochets. Okay, take care everybody. Have a great day.